to join this webinar, and I express my utmost gratitude to Professor Dr. Renu Malviya, who has consented to give us this talk on specific learning disabilities. So to introduce Professor Renu Malviya to all of you, she's a professor at the Department of Education, Lady Owen College, University of Delhi, with experience in teaching, research and extension. She has been associated with the project by CARE, Save the Children, UNEFPA, ILO, UGC, NIST, Google, University of Delhi, University of Edinburgh, Scotland, UK's King's College, London. Besides her 25 plus books for academics, she has published books on bibliotherapy, contributed chapters to more than 30 books and modules. She has presented papers at national and international conferences and webinars. She is an RCI certified special educator, CBSE certified master trainer, an advisor to the Commissioner of Disability, member Mental Health Counseling Team, University of Delhi, member preparatory team for Center of Disability Studies, Delhi University, training of trainers with expertise in intergenerational bonding, life skills, pedagogy, mental health, gender capacity building, special education, and inclusive education. She has become active with her YouTube on understanding disability and diversity. She is also the secretary of All India Women's Education Fund Association and joint secretary, Indian Association of Family Therapy. So we are extremely fortunate to have you amongst us, Professor Malviya. She has more than 3 decades of rich experience in teaching, research, and social engagement. And it is thanks to this technology that our students are able to hear you in person, ma'am, a person of such eminence, experience, and expertise. I wholeheartedly welcome you to deliver a talk on understanding specific learning disabilities. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Suparna Gupta, for inviting me to your college. I know this is virtual, but this is so wonderful to be among all the students. And thank you to your principal for giving me this platform. I'm so happy and so enriched to have senior faculty like Professor Sapra and others here with me today on the session today. Thank you so much for this invitation. So I hope we can start now. My screen probably is sharing. I'm trying, it's the first time I'm trying to use 2 devices and trying to work, and I can see that my face is not coming directly the way it should be there, but I will manage that. So now today we are, I've been requested to talk about understanding specific learning disabilities, the concept, definition, classifications, and characteristics. Now, when we look at specific learning disabilities, it is a field which is still growing, very new. And in our country, it is the first time that Act, which is the RPWD Act 2016, which is the Revised Persons with Disability Act 2016. So in 2016, first time specific learning disabilities entered the Acts of India. However, because as we go along, we will see that these children who or individuals, we should say, because they are across the developmental stage till old age, if you have specific learning disability, you have it forever. It doesn't go away. But these people, as we say across, are very smart, they are average or above average in intelligence. So let us just look at why this brain, which is it a disabled brain or is it a brain which is different? And that is why the issue of, do we call it a disability or a diversity? but it has to come into the act. So therefore, it has been called a specific learning disability. When we look at society, society consists of very different people, different individuals. And a society which is diverse, like a country like ours, is forever a growing space. So, therefore, we need people of all types of intellect, talent, different ways of learning, and so on. So, to make society, so dyslexia or specific learning disability comes in very important in being able to get people who are average and above average and who are going to become contributing effective members of society. Would you know that 40% of the global identified persons with disability are millionaires and above? So, because they are diverse thinkers, they are innovative thinkers, and so on and so forth. I just want to ask you these questions here. Come to this slide. Have you ever come across a child who tends to skip, add, or omit words when they read aloud? Have you? They may be able to read, but they will not be able to give you the spelling correctly. On the same page, if you ask them to write a spelling, they would write the same word in 10 different ways. And when you ask them, see, you've written the spelling of pronunciation in the beginning of the sentence like this, and is it different in the rest of the page? They will say, look at it and say, no, ma'am, it's exactly the same. And then when you get their attention closer to it, then they might be able to identify the differences. So this is what a person with specific learning disability tends to be. They will have difficulty in doing simple things like 4 plus 4. How much is it, girls? 4 plus 4. And now
Ma'am,
this is 8. Exactly. Everyone knows that now. Now, supposing this is the class 8th child, class 9th child, and you ask them, what is 4 plus 4? And they start off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You are going to say, oh, something is seriously wrong there. And the same child or the same individual, when you ask them, oh, there has been a volcanic eruption in some part of the country. I remember there was in Bali some time back. They will be able to tell you all the details of all types of volcanic eruptions, why they happen, why the volcanic eruption in one part of the globe is different from the other part. Would you call this person? What will you make out of this person? You will see, definitely this person is making a fool out of me by saying that I cannot do 4 plus 4. Isn't it? So this is what they are like. They might be able to. I actually came across this particular child who was an expert in playing chess. What does chess require? Tell me, to be an expert. Yes, you are right. Who's going to tell me? What is the main thing that you need to be an expert in chess?
ma'am, smartness.
Smartness. Which is smartness? Being able to think
Ma'am,
beyond.
being able to think the moves, the next moves which we gonna
Ma'am,
make.
patience.
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
patience,
Patience
patience.
logic,
Patience.
intelligence.
and being able to, who said that? Pratyusha, being able to think of the next and the next and the next 5 moves ahead. You should be able to, and 5, 6, whatever, but a number of moves ahead. Okay, now what do you need for that? Imagination, being able to hold a lot of information in your brain and be able to develop that picture of the next move and the next move and the next move. Now, look at, doesn't a jigsaw puzzle also, solving a jigsaw puzzle requires similar type of activities? It also needs to be able to see ahead. Why is that child not able to do that? It is because often in our education system, we use what is called the linear method of learning. Seriation. You do this, then you do this, then you do this. The larger picture we are not able to see. So when you are teaching, if supposing I ask you to teach, help somebody, a class one child, class two child, or whatever, how to help the child solve the jigsaw puzzle. What would you do? Who's going to tell me? You will ask them to match color to color of
Yes,
one
ma'am.
piece color to the other piece color. Okay. Or you might ask them, okay, now this is the design. These are the leaves. Can you see the green leaves of the tree here? Find out another piece which also has green leaves out there and put them together. Okay, now you've done that. Now look at the brown part, the trunk part. Okay, you've done that. Now look at this. What are you doing? Step by step by step. And often such a child will say, just leave it, I will do it my way. And they will be able to do it because they work in a lot of network, right? A lot of things together, and they try to form a connection, which is very difficult for us to understand. But they are able to give the right answers at the end. So this is the difference in how their brain works and somebody else's brain work. I have a colleague who needs everything very clearly explained. Why am I doing this? Only then she's able to do that. Then she says, "Iske baad wo kya hoga? Fir kya hoga?" Now she is a very logical senior science person, right? Often it happens with another colleague of mine. What she says is she will be able to finish the work, show the end, but when somebody asks her, how did you do that? She has to sit down, think about it, and then give the steps. So this is a different brain, and this is a brain. But both of them are very good brains. So this is what happens in the case of children with specific learning disabilities. Now think of yourself as a, look here, would, there might be this child, you ask the child, say class 2 child this might be, and the teacher is teaching, and teacher says, okay, what is a parrot like? Who is going to tell me what does a parrot look like? And this child suddenly starts talking about another bird, the canary, or a sparrow. Now the teacher says, but I asked you about the parrot. Now, what has happened is, think of your computer, your laptop, where you save things. Where do the files go? The files go in a folder. Now, if you're in a hurry in the morning and you can't remember if it is Suparna ma'am's class or Rekha ma'am's class, or is it P1 class or SCP, whatever other names, and you land up opening a different file, and therefore you get late because the connection that you have clicked on is different, and then you find there's nobody there, so you close that, then you go back to the next one, and then you tell yourself, calm down, calm down, calm down, and then you open the right one. So this is exactly what happens in the brain of this particular child. So bird, so goes to the bird file, whichever is the bird folder in the brain, opens that up. Now, same, supposing suddenly in the class, the teacher is interacting or somebody is talking about what is a penguin. You know, penguin is the bird which does not fly. Penguin is this. And so the child has all the information about a penguin, but lands up talking about the polar bear. Everyone starts laughing at him and telling him, oh, we were talking about the penguin. Where did the polar bear come in? And the teacher says, oh, you're making fun of, why are you being naughty? I don't want jokers in my class. Now, the child was not there as a joker. It just happened that he appeared to be. Because he landed up opening a file which has nothing to do with penguins. How is a polar bear similar to a penguin, except that it starts with a P? So can you imagine? But this child has average or above average intelligence. So he or she knows that what I'm doing is something is wrong, but he or she is not able to rectify it. And therefore, such a child will say, if you ask him, will you do this? The child knows, the individual knows I'll make mistakes. So therefore, what does the individual say? I will not do it. Instead of saying, I have difficulty in doing it. It's difficult because the child knows, the individual knows that I'm capable of doing it, but the result doesn't come. And there is the major problem with persons with specific learning disabilities. Specific learning disability is a whole umbrella of many other disabilities in it. It is not a standalone. How many of you have watched Tare Zameen Pe? Raise your hands. Many of you have. Yes, isn't it? So now, what was happening in Tare Zameen Pe? This is generally the student group, am I right? Uh, Dr. Suparna Gupta? This is basically this, so students are here, na, majority? Okay. Specific learning. So,
yes, ma'am, please.
yes, yeah, okay. So what are we saying is that specific learning disabilities, it has many other, it's an umbrella for a many number of other disabilities. What are they? Dyslexia. Lexia means reading. So difficulty in reading. Dysgraphia, difficulty in writing. Graphia means writing. Dyscalculia, difficulty in calculation. Where do we do calculations? In arithmetic, in mathematics. Arithmetic and mathematics are two different things. We will talk about it someday. Okay. Dyspraxia, where the motor, the ability, you know how to write an A, you know how to write CAT, but the brain gives instructions which are slightly different. So when you try to write the C, your C tends to be different from the C that the teacher has asked you to write. Okay? Or you are playing cricket or something, or hitting a ball in hockey, you land up not being able to aim it appropriately. So these are the different things. Now, there is also something called, these are also different names which are used, visual perceptual difficulties, meaning that what you see and how you perceive that thing is, there is a difficulty in there, or you perceive it differently. We have a lot of different pictures on illusions, where somebody will see an old woman in it and others can see a younger woman in it, or there can be two faces in between is a flask. So that ability to be able to perceive correctly is an issue sometimes. So it's called visual perceptual difficulty. Therefore, this child, if you ask them, is this a C, or they will say, no, it is A, because that little difference, which is openness, the A is a whole circle, right? But C is not a whole circle. Somewhere the child can see, the individual can see the difference between the alphabet C and the alphabet A. But by the time it reaches to the brain for processing, the difference is somehow blurred. But if you again ask the individual to focus, no, look at it, yes, it is a C. What is the difference between a C or a A? It is open from here, but this is whole closed, right? Okay, but next time when you ask them to do it again they make the same mistake because the brain looks at it differently. Okay, I have a friend who is from Bengal. So in Bengali, there is no strilling or pulling. Even in the language, it is one gender. In the communication of that language. Now, when she tries to speak in English, Hindi, there is often a issue. Then you tell her, oh, you've forgotten, I'm a she. Then she's able to speak properly. The correct, using the right link. But after some time, again she forgets. When she's in a hurry to tell me something, again there is a confusion. Similar type of thing happens in the brain of a child with specific learning disabilities. When we teach them appropriately, they start to understand, but the brain does not change. The brain remains the same. So, what do children or individuals with specific learning disabilities have issues with is language processing, visual spatial processing, perceptual motor integration, memory, and attention. So it goes into their memory, but remember we had studied about the information processing theory. So you have the immediate memory, the working memory, the short-term memory, and the long-term memory. So the information as it moves from one memory level to the other, it has to be embedded properly. And there the problem comes in. So they often have issues with organizing material, which is often in a step-by-step way. But they make very good event managers. Give them, and I know of so many students who have dyslexia and they are on the college, what is it called? Students committee or union, right? So because they're able to do very good multitasking. So coming to, let me just leave this out. I'll just show you that definitions say that educationally significant discrepancy between their estimated potential and actual level of performance. So they have potential, but when they write their exam, when they do their exam, when they do other things, they are not able to perform so well. And this is not because their intelligence is less, or they are culturally deprived, or they have any emotional issues. So this is the definition even way back in 1932. And in India, now we have this definition, which has been given by the latest Act on Special Education, which is Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016. And it says that this is a heterogeneous group of conditions. So let me just tell you quickly that difficulty in reading is dyslexia, like we had in Tariq Zameen Pe. Difficulty in writing is dysgraphia. But if I can't read properly, I'll also have problems in writing. But there are others who have only problems in writing. Those are the dysgraphia, right? Dyscalculia, difficulty in doing mathematics. Difficulty in motor planning is dyspraxia, aphasia. Now, let us see what is specific learning disability. I've already said it again and again. These are children or individuals whose IQ is average or above average in intelligence. In Tare Zameen Pe, Ivan Avasthi, did he really look very different from the other children? Just a little different?
Yes, ma'am.
Could anyone make out that there is an issue? Did everyone feel that he's doing it deliberately?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
You
No,
couldn't
ma'am.
make out. But if you have a friend who has a problem in one leg or does not have one leg, can you make it out? Is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
If
Yes,
somebody does not is blind, it is visible, isn't it?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
learning disability is often called a hidden disability or handicap, or because it's not visible, so people do not know on the street, who are not aware, they are not aware that there is an issue somewhere. Okay, but you never grow out of specific learning disability. You learn to live with it. And as the education system is becoming better, teachers are so good, they use what is called learner-centered method. I'm sure you know about these words, where the child is the center. The learning is the construction of knowledge is done by the child. So the student is the student-centric methods are being used, such as when we talk about peer group method, peer teaching, collaborative teaching, team teaching, project method, discovery method. Many of these terms are very you're familiar with. When we use all these methods, the best potential of the child with specific learning disability tends to come out. But the child or the individual still remains, the brain remains the same. So SLD is not a disease. You can't give medicine and make the individual okay. You can only help in seeing that the best potential, you can use strategies to get the best potential out of them. So the wiring, the neurological disorder difference is in the brain wiring. They are smart or even smarter than us. Yet they have difficulty in reading, writing, spelling, reasoning, recalling, or organizing information. So people with learning disabilities learn differently. Obviously, does that mean that the way they learn is wrong? It's a question that I want you to reflect on. If they learn differently, so does it mean that the learning is wrong? So what are
No,
we
ma'am.
saying? No, it's just that we do not know how best they learn. Now, what do we want? In our education system, in our schools and colleges, what are our schools and colleges for? Learning to take place, or learning to take place only by a particular process? What do you want, Mom? Teachers, learning should happen in each child, right? So we are looking at learning to take place. And if learning to take place, can we have the child with specific learning disability learn the way they learn best? So this is what we are talking about. The dyslexia is about reading, dysgraphia is about writing, and let me come to dyscalculia here. What do we do in class 1 and 2? We learn addition. What does the word add mean? Join. So what is wrong if the child has done this? 23 plus 12, add it together, 2, 3, 1, 2. That's what you say, na? Jodna? Jod diya?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
understand, this is exactly, now what are we saying? Add is to mix together. When we in math say addition, it is mixing it together, isn't it? So this is how terminology also makes a difference. These are children, individuals who have difficulty in understanding left and right. Remember in school we used to have marching. All of you were part of the march march past in school.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now there must have been one student, friend of yours, or somebody who would always make the mistake. You had to start with the left, the which I have forgotten also. Yeah, the right leg, and invariably she or he would start with the left leg, or would take a little time and get the entire row marching, make it a mistake, make mistake with it, right? Just mistake. So that is what was happening is the individual had an issue with left and right. The individual had an issue with left and right. So here we have 36, which is 6 is supposed to be this side and 3 is supposed to be this side. And they have made a mistake here. Look at this here. It's 26. And instead of adding or separating it out, what has the child done? 6 minus 2, 4. Again, reverse issue. 9, it should be 30 plus 1 plus 9, reverse issue. So this is the problem, and all the questions are wrong. There are very simple ways in which teachers help the child understand that this is left and this is right. So there are strategies which are used in the classroom to help them be able to give the right product output. Now, what did we say? The child with dyslexia, specific learning disability, has an issue. They tend to reverse the words. Now, when they reverse the words, what happens is, and they may not reverse all the words. They might reverse only certain words in a sentence. So this particular individual child reverses N, makes U into N. So this is what it looks like. Or sometimes they invert the word. So they, instead of writing it, reversing it, they invert it. Sometimes they rotate the entire word. Now, this is how what school teachers do, is they identify what is going wrong where. See here, do you see this? It is P here, and it should have been D. So it is an inversion. They've changed it entirely. And if you just write this word there somewhere, you will not, the teacher or anyone who sees this, will not be able to make out that this is pursued. The word is pursued. So this is enough. Now, so often they also have problems with their writing. And for that, there are simple grippers which are used, which help them retain the position of the pencil appropriately. And this is not only for primary school, this can be used by children in middle school, by senior school, but of course, sometimes they feel shy using it. So this is another thing. Can we allow them to be what they are? How would you, which of these two will you call better organized cupboard? This one or this one? The first one or the second one? Majority of you would put it in your chat box. I'll see it from there. Is the first one more organized or the second one more organized?
First one.
The first one is more organized according to majority of us. Okay, now what happens here is, this is also categorization, but see, this is also categorization. Only thing is that this particular individual or child has organized or categorized his information in a different way. And this is how children with dyslexia tend to do. They organize the information in a visual, spatial way. But we expect everyone to do it in a sequence. Often it happens when you are doing some work and your mom wants to come and wants to clean the room, what do you tell her? Just leave my things as they are. I'm in the middle of a project. I'll put it as you want later. Because the way you have put those categorization is not the way that your mama wants it to be in the room. So the same issue is happening here. Now, is there anyone of you who rather, instead of reading the instructions on a project, you rather see the end product of the project? You will be able to make that particular project much better. So here, look at this child. just needs the final result. But most of us need it step 1, step 2, step 3. And the education system requires us to do this. So this person who is not good at understanding step 1, step 2, step 3 in writing or orally, they can see it, they can read it, they can hear it, but it does not go easily on their brain, are the ones who are not able to perform well. And these are the visual spatial learners, and these are the ones who are, majority of them are specific learning disability category. If you could see the way I see, this is what a child with dyslexia or specific learning disability would say to us. And now tell me, has anyone ever had an experience when they were in school and there was this boy or that girl and the teacher would keep saying, where did you get this answer from? And your friend, the girl or the boy would not know where the person got the answer from. The teacher would say that you've cheated. And you would also think, cheating ki hai, isne bata nahi raha. But actually, the child had not cheated. The way the individual had done that was like in mental maths. You don't go in a sequence in mental maths. So what do? 10 plus 11 is, so you take the 10 from here, you take the 10 from here, it's 20. Okay, 0 and 1, it's 1. So 20 and 1. Something like this we do. And this is how their brain also works. So it appears as if they are copying the answer from somebody else, but they're not even able to explain how they have arrived at that answer. So this is because they are able to see the larger picture. And we go step by step generally, the so-called normal people. And this creates issues for them in their lives, in education, and beyond. They have, what I was saying is sequence. They have a problem with directionality also. What is directionality? Left, right, top, bottom, right, northeast, southwest. So the arrow is going like this, or the arrow is going like this. So they have all this is directionality. So when you're telling them direction, have you come across anyone where you ask them for the direction and they say left jana hai, and they will be using their left hand, their right hand to show left jana hai. And you're so confused. Do I have to go left? Do I follow what you're saying, or do I follow the direction in which you're showing your hand? So this is the issues that come in, and they appear as if, they do not know what they're talking about. It is utterly confusing. Now look at this particular part here. How did the child arrive at 21? And this is a minus sign. Put it in the chat box, please. How do you think the child arrived at 21? To the best of my understanding, when I spoke to this particular child for some time, he says, minus to kiya hai, bade mein se chote ko minus kiya hai. So 5 minus 4 is 1. 5 minus 3 is 2. So the concept that you subtract from the upper digit number, the lower number. That is directionality, up and down. And that is not properly understood by this particular child. And therefore, these mistakes. And obviously, the child is going to get a 0 and will fail in maths. Here. Who is going to help me with this? You will have to use your chat box, or if permitted, to unmute yourself and tell me. How did this child arrive at 13? 7, this was an addition sum. The individual had to add these? It is probably 7 plus 2, 9, 9 plus 1, 10, 10 plus 3, 13. Didn't you ask the child to add? The child is added. But the sequence of that, it is in a sequence. This and this, then this and this is not what the brain is working on. Of course, this is very easy to understand. Supposing there's an annual function happening in your college, and there are 5 different very senior experts coming in to judge different events. One event is in the main lawn, one event is in the auditorium or the hall of your college, one is in class on the first floor, something. So there is somebody in charge at the gate to take the people, the experts, to the different rooms. It happens. Okay. The first person who is supposed to come comes slightly late. Somebody else comes early. Something else happens. So there is one student who says, I can't handle this. I can't. This teacher was supposed to come, expert was supposed to come. He hasn't come. I don't know what to do. And she's the topper. But there is another friend of yours, or on the the college union, and she or he has no problem. They're able to manage all of them together. So they're very good with managing events, multitasking. And all those experts he or she is quite happy running about and taking all the experts to the right place. So this is how the brain of a normal person works. Straight. I need to do this. Yes, then this. No, then this. Okay, yes, then this. No, then this. But this is how the brain of a person who is specific learning disability, whether it is for calculation or for writing or for reading, this is how they go. They'll start with something, they will go here, at the same time start thinking of one thing here, another thing here, which is also important. But they will be able to do that together. Then they will go here. From there, they'll move on to something else. They're having their breakfast. They'll give the breakfast to the cat also. They will at the same time be thinking of, I had to write that notes of my, complete my assignment, in which I had to talk about nutrition also. So everything is going on simultaneously. And with so much of chaos, which appears chaos to me, they are able to reach the school. Often they do get late also. Because what do? What will mom say, or what will your teacher say? Is that please do one thing at a time. They cannot do. Okay. Now this is another issue where they do not appear to be doing very well. Look at this chair here. The first one is a chair. The second the position has been changed. It still remains a chair. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. It's inverted. It's still a chair. It's
Yes,
inverted and the position change is still a chair. But come to academics. B, inverted, reversed, it's a D. Upside down, it's a P. Reversed again, it's a Q. This is how the brain works. Nobody is told that individual child that this is what's happening here. But here, this is the confusion happens. The B is a B is a B is a B for that particular child. Now we are only talking about B just now. Now what supposing it was B, A, D? Then the A would keep moving on its own. The D will keep moving on its own. How many permutations and combinations? For one, we have 4. For 3 alphabets, what would it be? Okay, that is still a very small word. Let's take up some very large word. What do we want to take up? Pronunciation. Or what significance?
Umbrella.
Umbrella. Okay, now How many permutations and combinations possible? And that is why on every page, the child, you will find spelling mistakes. And the spelling mistake will not be same changes in the spelling. There'll be absolutely new changes. So in one page, if the child has to write umbrella 7 times the spelling of umbrella will be. And what will happen then? Do I have to say anything about it? No. You know that what people will say, what the education system will say, what the parents will say, and so on. Now, but it is called the gift of dyslexia. Remember, the word dyslexia came in first. Then they realized there is something called dyslexia, which is difficulty in reading. After some years, the experts found that there was a problem in some children with writing. Whatever you do, they could not get very beautiful, like a pearl, like a moti handwriting. And remember 100, 200 years back, how much importance was given to writing. So then they realized there is these children. So it came to be known as dysgraphia. Graphia means writing and difficulty. So the first was dyslexia, then dysgraphia, then there were people with dyscalculia, then there were others. So then they realized, oh, all of them have similar sort of characters, some similar characteristics, but some different characteristics. So they put it under the umbrella specific learning disabilities. But the first word was dyslexia. So it stuck on. So therefore, even now, when we are saying specific learning disability, we land up saying dyslexia. Dyslexia is actually a component of specific learning difficulties or disabilities. So I was talking about the gift of dyslexia or the gift of specific learning disabilities. We will sometime, if you have heard about autism or autism spectrum disorder, they are able to pay and they like to pay very important. Everything is important for them. So that full stop and comma has you cannot replace a full stop with a comma. If there has to be a small full stop, it has to be a small full stop. But in the case of a child with specific learning disability, it's not important for them, comma or full stop. So what will happen is they finished a sentence, they've written a sentence, my name is Renu Malvia, full stop. And they might land up saying, my name is Renu Malvia, comma. I teach at Delhi University, comma. Okay, because it doesn't matter. Thoda sa to difference hai, dot aur usme. Now, look at another thing. We're talking about reversibility now. We're talking about directionality now. Now, when we say full stop, when we write a full stop, when we are reading and there's a full stop, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to stop, be silent for a short period of time. Are we more now for a comma? The same function, but the amount of time that we are going to be silent is lesser. But which one is bigger in size? For full stop, the amount of time you spend to be silent before you move on to the next word is more, but full stop is smaller in size. The comma is larger in size, but the amount of time you spend to be quiet, to be silent is less. So for a smaller thing, more silence. For a bigger thing, less silence. Isn't this an example of reversibility? Isn't
Yes,
this
ma'am.
confusing?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is just one example. We could go on and on and on with all these type of examples, which cause so much of confusion for a brain which thinks differently, whose wires are wired differently. Okay, now come here. Generally, if you're looking at a person who is normal or maybe autistic, they're two different things, of course. So, what are you looking at? I hear a barking, it's a powerful bark. I see a long golden coat. I see a snort and a long ear. I see paws and tails. Oh, this is a golden retriever. Won't we think like this only? Put in the
Yes,
chat.
ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
But
Yes, ma'am.
maybe in this group itself, also, those may be not full specific learning disabled, but because that's not 40%. See, I am wearing specs, but will I be called visually impaired? No, because it is not a 40% disability. It is less than 40% disability. Okay, so it does not come in what is called 40% disability, is called benchmark disability, for which I will be given certificate. For this, I will not be given a certificate because it is far less than 40%. Okay, so similarly, coming to this now. So some of you in this group will be analyzing it in the way that I'm explaining, but you are not dyslexic, you are not specific learning disabled because you are not 40% and above. Okay, so don't be upset about anything. So yeah, the same picture. What is this boy thinking? I see a dog. The dog is drooling. Okay, the dog is barking at me. Farah, your mic is open, your video is open, close it. The dog is barking. The dog looks at my sandwich. What is now? Look at this. This is a dog, probably hungry. He wants my sandwich. Now, if you look at this one and you look at this one, who is thinking at a more in-depth level? This one who is only able to identify that this is a golden retriever. And this one, the life skills are right there inside him. Okay, so this is a more holistic thinker. And
Yes, ma'am.
the child with dyslexia or the individual with dyslexia looks at the larger circuit. The larger circuit. Okay, and when we were talking about perceptions, the way one perceives and the way other perceives is different.
Yes, ma'am.
Here you've seen, I'm sure, being part of the education department, majority of you would be from the education department, I mean from child development and other allied fields here. You would have been exposed to how perception varies. This one is of course interesting. Two figures and a flask in between, or is it the flask or two figures, right? So this is again, which becomes a problem with persons who are specific learning disabled. So again, leaving you with the question that is this disability or diversity? But according to RPWD Act 2016, it is called specific learning disabilities. And it has this advantage because it gives them certain privileges, like they don't have to give the exam for the third language. They can get a writer in the exam. Okay, and there are many other little advantage which helps them do better. How do the question that must be leaving you, you must be thinking about is, okay, Dr. Malvia has been talking about that we need to teach them differently. How do we do that? How is it done in the school system? How is it done in the college system? It is by methods like this, which is different types of graphs we use, different types of audiovisual aids we use, memory games we use. How we do learn. How do you remember your mobile number? And now, though you don't have to, you just learn 1 or 2 mobile numbers, but there are 9, there are 10 numbers in a mobile contact. Okay, how do you do it? You remember them as separate 10, or do you chunk them together into smaller pieces and then do it? If I have to remember a story, or if I have to remember what are the different the colors in a rainbow, you don't remember them, you don't rote learn them, but what you do, you form a small word called vibro mnemonics. So you make it smaller and you remember that, and then you expand it when you require it. Or you form visual associations. For example, we often do it for B and D. Okay, so this is B and this is D. B. Like, can you see my fingers there? So what do? We make a bed. So now the child knows in bed, B comes first and D comes afterwards. And the B circle has to be on this side, and the D circle has to be on this side. So these are the ways in which the child is taught different strategies of learning and be effective in the classroom or in life as such. So I think my time is up, and I will stop here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was such an amazing talk, such an engaging session. And, I just thought that it will go on and on. Thank you so very much. The floor is open for question and answers and reactions. Please feel free to interact. So we have faculty members from different colleges. So anybody would like to, Meeta, please?
Thank you, Meeta.
Yeah. Hello, Renu ma'am. It's always a pleasure listening to you. And I think that you really did a virtual task analysis for each and every one of us. That we were able to, comprehend learning disability in a very comprehensive manner, because otherwise, we understand that there is something called dyslexia, dyscalculia, but the examples that you used, it like everything was falling into place. So thank you so much for demystifying the concept of learning disability. Really indebted to you for this lovely session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know you're already an expert in the area.
No. It's always a sheer delight listening to you. Thank you so much.
So students, do you have any examples? Can you add to my examples that I gave, or are those the only ones that we are going to remember?
Girls, please interact. Rima, our faculty members, Rima, Sagar.
Good afternoon, ma'am. It's always a pleasure listening to you. I went back to our discussions in your residence, and it's always nice to the way you
Your voice is gone.
join little. But I could see how nicely you were putting. Ma'am, am I audible? Ma'am, the way you were giving examples in the presentation, it was, I'm sure students had a great time listening to you. Thank you so much, ma'am. In fact, all my students are there today listening to this session.
Thank you. I hope they have been able to gain from this session.
Ma'am, I can see in the chat box also. Lots of thanks for you.
Definitely,
Thank you
definitely,
so
ma'am.
much, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you so very much.
So we
Thank you,
Sadhana?
ma'am. I'm Sadhana here. How are you, ma'am?
Sadhana is here too. Okay. Hi. Hello, Sadhana.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, you explained everything in such a simple manner, and the worksheets, they have really done a wonderful job. Our students have learned. I'm sure my students have learned it properly because with examples and workshop and the worksheets, they must be able to comprehend the whole concept of SLD. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really wonderful listening you. Thank you so
Thank you
much, ma'am.
so much. So nice to hear you, Sadhana. It's been a long time. And Rima, I've been Professor Rima, I've been in touch off and on, and others also, Professor Rekha, Professor Meeta, everyone I've been in touch. I've missed out on you for some time now. Okay. Thank you so much. So do we wind up?
Rima, I must say something that, I always, your face was always very chirpy while I was doing my master's and graduation from Lady Oven.
Who is
And
this?
I always regretted not doing B.Ed because
Oh.
my best friend Bhumika Batra, she must have been your student.
Huh.
So she always used to tell me how lucky she was to have you as a teacher. And I always missed. But now I feel that you have already filled that void because I think this is the 5th or 6th lecture that I'm listening to you. Thanks to this online mode, that I feel so lucky that I don't feel like कि नहीं करा है yet. That's okay now, yeah, because I'm in touch with you and you feel like a family person and a home person now. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for building that emotional rapport with us. That it doesn't feel that we have not been your students. Some of us who have not been your students, it doesn't feel anymore. So
Everyone is my student, and I think I'm everyone. I'm learning from all of you also.
Yeah,
There's so much that I'm learning from all of you. Urbanites and IHE, what is IHE called? What do we call them? So all of us are together in it, and the few who have joined us from other cities are also part of the entire gamut of the home science family.
Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
education
Thanks for being so
family.
down to earth, that you are able to reach to each and every one of us. And that's really the beauty of a person, that one has to be, accessible to each and every person out there. So I think that's the best thing that one can have. So thanks so much for that, Renma.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all of you, for putting me on such a large pedestal. I am so happy. Thank you so much. So we can, I can find out, so we close.
I request Mrs. Sopti to give the formal vote of thanks. Mrs. Sopti from my department, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor Malvia, for such an amazing talk today. As you can see from the reaction from the audience, they're all appreciating you. We are so actually fortunate, as Suparna said in the beginning, that we are there in the audience to hear from you, ma'am, with your expertise. It would really be, so helpful if each one of us could bring about an awareness amongst the parents who have children with learning disability, that how to be sensitive to their needs, how to handle them, tackle them, and make learning a good experience for them. So I'm really glad that we have heard this from you, and I'm sure each one of us could bring about this awareness. So it will be so useful for us. Thank you so much, Professor Malvia, for this wonderful session.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye. I request everyone to fill the feedback form. Thank you, everyone. Please fill the feedback form. Please fill the feedback form. Thanks. We would really appreciate if everyone fills the feedback form. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Meeta. Thank you,
Thank you,
Reena.
Suparna. Thank you, Dr. Sopti. Thank you.
Mrs. Sopti. Thank you, students from other departments. So nice.
Thanks,
to see all
Suparna,
of you.
for
Thank you, Reema.
such an engaging session. Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Professor Malviya is amazing.
Yes, definitely.
You have been her student, so who would know better?
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Bye. Thanks a ton. Please fill the form. Thank you so very much. Do fill the feedback form. Yeah. Sarabjit ji, we can stop recording. Thank you, everyone. Please fill the feedback form. Please fill the feedback form, and my students join the class, please. My students, please join the class.
Yes, ma'am.